A camouflaged sedan came out of the Nürburgring pit lane earlier this month, with red brake calipers glowing behind what look like 20-inch wheels, and 4 exhaust tips poking out the back. Wrapped nose taped over badges, matte gray swirls over every panel. The whole routine. And here's the thing that makes that photograph confusing rather than exciting. BMW has already shown you the new 3 Series, fully, in the metal, on a stand with prices attached. That car in the wrap is a different car. Same nameplate, same segment, completely different platform. There are 2 next-generation 3 Series arriving, and if you don't sort out which one you're actually shopping for, you'll walk into a showroom next year and get a very confusing conversation. So let me untangle it. Quick word on method. I haven't driven either of these. What I've done is go through the official material, the spy shots, the order books that have already opened, and the part that matters most. What people who own the current car have been complaining about for 7 years. Everything I say is going in one of 3 boxes. On the record, solidly reported, or still just talk. I'll tell you which every time. As of July 2026, this is where it stands, and this stuff moves quickly. Start with the car that's real. Confirmed from BMW's own press material. The fully electric 3 Series exists. It's called the i3, and it's the second Neue Klasse model after the iQ3. BMW's language about it is unusually reverent. 5 decades of the 3 Series, an icon of the brand, and then a range figure of up to 900 kilometers on the WLTP cycle. The launch car is the i3 50 xDrive. 2 motors, 1 per axle, 469 horsepower, and 645 newton meters combined, 0 to 62 in 4.7 seconds. And there's a detail in that all-wheel drive system I genuinely like. It prioritizes the rear motor and only brings the front one in when it needs grip or the driver asks for everything. So it behaves as a rear-driven car most of the time, which is both better for range and more like a 3 Series ought to feel. Underneath, 108.7 kilowatt hours usable, an 800-volt architecture, DC charging up to 400 kilowatts, bidirectional charging is standard, new cylindrical cells, 46 millimeters across, integrated straight into the pack with no modules, and the battery works as a structural part of the car. That's why it sits flatter and lower than a battery bolted into a converted petrol platform. There's also something BMW calls the heart of joy, a single control unit handling drive, braking, and energy recovery together instead of separate boxes talking to each other with a delay. The claim is sharper response and cleaner regeneration, confirmed as a feature, unmeasured by anybody independent. And worth remembering that the iX3 built on the same generation of hardware went on to win both World Car of the Year and a fair few other trophies. That's not proof the i3 drives well. It's a reason to be optimistic rather than nervous. It's grown too. Against the current petrol 3 Series, it's about 1.5 inches wider, 1.5 inches longer, 1.5 inches taller. Wheelbase over 114 inches. Also confirmed, production starts at Munich in August, European deliveries in autumn, and BMW brought the order books forward to the 18th of June because interest was strong enough to justify it. A touring version has been confirmed for both this car and the petrol one. But here's where it gets interesting. The car in that wrap at the Nürburgring is the G50, the petrol, diesel, and plug-in hybrid 3 Series. And it rides on CHARU2, an evolution of the platform under the car you can buy today. Not Neue Klasse. Reporting puts production at Dingolfing from November this year. Expected from consistent reporting, rather than official confirmation, the M340i is replaced by something called the M350, running a revised mild hybrid version of the same 3-liter straight 6 with at least 400 horsepower. That's roughly 30 more than the North American M340i makes now. The quad exhaust tips are confirmed on M performance models. Previously, that was reserved for full M cars. And those 20-inch wheels would be a size up on the current car, which topped out at 19. The nose gets a horizontal glass panel with the headlights built into the kidney surround. The kidneys are still there and still functional, because a combustion engine still needs air, but they're slimmer and more geometric, and the proportions stay traditional. Longer bonnet or hood, a more upright windscreen, more rear overhang than the electric car gets. If the i3's shorter dash-to-axle bothered you in the photos, this is the answer to that. One more expected item, and it'll upset some of you. No manual gearbox anywhere in the range. Not one in any body style in any market. First time since the E21, which is 1975. If you're the sort of person who has been quietly holding a 3-pedal 3 Series as a life goal, this is the paragraph that ruins your afternoon. And I'm sorry about it. And that's the confirmed and the expected done. What's left is timing, and timing is where this gets messy. Now the honest part. BMW hasn't published a launch date for the petrol car, and whether it lands in American showrooms in time to be called a 2027 is genuinely unresolved. I'm not going to guess, because a guess is worth nothing to somebody planning a purchase. The full M3 is reported for July 2028, which means the M3 550 is the fast one on the new platform for about 2 years. And those crisp 2027 3 Series pictures circulating on blogs? Renderings. Artists' interpretations built from concept cues and camouflaged prototypes. Not official images, not leaked photographs. The i3's pictures are real. The petrol cars aren't yet. Right. Here's the segment nobody else makes. I went through what current 3 Series owners complain about, over and over, and then asked the only question worth asking: does either new one fix it? Infotainment first, because it's everywhere. Owners report iDrive glitches, Bluetooth dropouts, and an unresponsive touchscreen. And it turns up across British forums constantly. There's a related one that I found more annoying to read about. Over-the-air updates that either don't take or nag forever without starting, with blind spot alerts working intermittently afterwards. And some owners have had the wireless charging pad heat a phone until the phone threw a temperature warning. Does the new one fix it? Both cars get an entirely new display and operating concept, which is confirmed. Whether new software is better software, nobody knows yet, including me. Ask for a long test drive with your own phone paired. Cold weather second, and this one is where the two cars split hardest. Here's UK winter testing on the iX3, which shares the i3's drivetrain generation. Around 3.4 miles per kilowatt hour in cold motorway running, giving a real-world figure north of 360 miles against a much larger official number. Separately, an American test of the heavier iX through a Chicago cold snap between -23 and -7 Celsius came out at 2.7 miles per kilowatt hour in normal winter and 2.4 in the worst of it. A 25 to 35% range loss and DC charging stretching past an hour until preconditioning was used. Different, heavier car. Same physics. The upside people forget. Heat arrives almost instantly in an electric car. Start a petrol 3 Series at -20, and you're sitting in a cold box waiting for coolant temperature. Long-distance highway third, and this is the one that decides whether an electric 3 Series works for your life. The i3 claims up to 900 kilometers WLTP and 400 kilowatt charging. Real-world testing on the iX3, on the same architecture, has come in remarkably close to its official figure in mild weather. One European measurement landed slightly above the WLTP number, which almost never happens. In winter, as we just covered, expect a meaningful haircut. If your driving is a 400-kilometer motorway run in February with a family in the car, that's the calculation to do. And do it on the winter figure rather than the brochure one. Ride quality fourth. Run flat tires come up again and again in the forums. Expensive to replace. And a curb or a bad pothole often means a trip to get the wheels rebalanced. Owners with the sport suspension describe it as stiff over broken pavement. Nothing published on tire strategy for either new car, so that's an unknown, and it's a question worth asking before you tick the biggest wheel option. Then there's the mechanical stuff, and I want to be careful here because most of it clusters on earlier cars. Reports of engine mounts needing replacement before 100,000 kilometers, some high oil consumption, Valvetronic actuator leaks. What the used car specialists say consistently is that these thinned out noticeably after the midlife update and again after the second revision. So it's a pattern with a date on it, not a blanket warning. And if you're buying the current car new, you're buying the far side of both updates. Family reality, fifth, quickly. The current car's back seat gets called smallish in review after review. The electric one is longer, wider, and taller with a longer wheelbase, so on paper that improves. Whether the flat floor translates into usable middle seat space? Nobody has measured it in public yet. Money stamped July 2026 because these numbers move. Today's petrol car, the 330i, starts around $48,000 US, with the M340i xDrive in the mid-60s once destination is counted. An all-wheel drive is a $2,000 line item. In Australia, current 330i M Sport stock sits roughly between 86,000 and 106,000 Aussie dollars drive away, depending on the deal, with the M340i xDrive up around $134,000, the electric one, from about £53,000 in Britain. In Germany, where it launched first, the well-equipped first edition opens at €75,840, with a base car to follow at €65,900, which undercuts the equivalent iX3 by €8,800. American pricing hasn't been announced, and the sensible outside estimate lands near $50,000. That's deduction, not a price list. So where does that leave you? If you want the Petrol 3 Series, the car in showrooms right now is a design that's been on sale since late 2018, and this year's is a straight carryover. It drives beautifully, the resale is average for the class, and dealers know a replacement is coming, which is a fact worth carrying into a negotiation. The counter-argument is that a run-out car on a mature platform, after 2 rounds of updates, is about as sordid as that generation will ever be. If you want the electric one, it's here, it's ordered, and it's the most complete piece of new BMW engineering in 20 years. It's also a first model year car on a brand new platform. And first model years carry the most unknowns. And if what you actually want is a manual 3 Series, this is your last call. That's not me being dramatic. That's the reporting. If you own a 3 Series, I want your climate and your one complaint. That's the comment that helps the next person. If you sold one, tell me why and what replaced it. I especially want that. And if you're choosing between the i3 and the petrol car, say which way you're leaning and why, because the reasoning is the interesting part. We went through the current M340i in detail recently, and it connects straight into what's changing here. The Mercedes C-Class and the electric Audi are next, because that's the fight this car has to win. That's the picture as it stands. Whatever you land on, buy it with your eyes open. See you in the next one.